Hi, this is Elizabeth Eakin. I am a chemistry teacher at Madison Park Technical Vocational High School in Boston. And in this screencast, I'm going to try to answer the question, why do we care about safety? So the purpose is to answer that question, like I said, why do we care? To talk about how to assess safety risks in labs, and to talk about efficiency, because we all, as teachers, have a lot to think about and a lot to do. So how can you become the most informed that you can about safety in the quickest, the most efficient manner? So why do we care? People. We want to keep the people that we work with safe. The students, teachers, including ourselves, support staff in the building, really everybody in the building, and first responders. So anyone who might come when there's an emergency at the school, be it a fire or something else. It's really important that anyone that's going into the building in a situation like that knows what potential hazards they are up against, to make sure that they are safe and they're able to do everything that they can to keep themselves safe. So also, we want to model for our students industry and what they would see in an industry or professional setting. So as far as wearing personal protective equipment all of the time, goggles, closed-toed shoes, the way that we handle chemicals, the way that we talk about safety. These are things that they're going to see in the workforce when they go out, whether it be to a research lab or some other environment. Safety is a huge topic in many, many, many work atmospheres. So we want to start to show our students what it means to be safe. It's also great practice to help students learn to be thoughtful about their actions, whether it's the way that they interact with chemicals, the way that they think about walking into a situation to make sure that they're keeping themselves and others safe. And it's best practice to think about safety, teach about safety, and maintain the safety of everybody in the classroom. So possible safety concerns. The likelihood of a major incident, honestly, not super huge, but it happens. If you have not seen reports about the rainbow experiment, there are some pretty horrific videos out there about students being burned on like 50% of their body that are really scary. Again, not something that happens all the time, so we shouldn't be discouraged from doing labs, but something to be aware of. Minor incidents are more common, little cuts, little burns, that sort of thing. So information, knowing about what could happen in a lab, how to best protect yourself and students, empowers you to really feel confident in what your students are doing, and it helps us to not be deterred from doing labs, to make sure that we're still offering our students the best learning environment and situation that we can. So how do you know if something's dangerous? Because you might just not know from a chemical. Looking at it, you might not remember what it is about that chemical that is a hazard or considerations that you need to take. So the best thing to do is to look up the safety data sheet for that chemical. You can either plug it into Google, or you can go to FlynnScience.com, Flynn Scientific. They have SDSs for every chemical that they sell, which is almost every chemical as a school you would have on file, and you can look at that SDS to see the hazards. Another great resource is on the BPS Science weebly. There is information about specific labs, especially for chemistry. So if we scroll down, it has info about all of the labs, and even if you don't follow Living by Chemistry, which is what this is broken down to very exactly, I think you'll find that most of the labs that I've seen that we do across the district fall into these categories. So this is great because when you click on a lab, it comes up with the PPE that needs to be worn, all of the considerations, et cetera, and it has the SDS. So really quickly while we're here, on the SDS, you can see things like the hazards that are present. So for example, methyl alcohol is flammable. So this is probably actually not a lab that we would be doing. We're trying to get rid of methanol in most of the district schools, but it says right here what you need to do to be safe with it. It has the pictograms, a really easy way to see that it's flammable, it's toxic, etc. So all of the information here that you need to make an informed decision about whether or not to do this lab, or the personal protective equipment or measures that need to be taken to keep everybody safe. So again, that's on the BPS Science Weebly. And then efficiency. How do you learn all this information about safety? Make sure you know everything you need to know, but do it quickly. The best thing that I can recommend are the screencasts on BPS Science Weebly that myself and Scott Balicki have created. You can see from the title what information will be included in that video, and it's something that you can put on and listen to while you're doing the dishes or something like that, just to get information into your brain so you know that you're making the best decisions that you can make. And you probably know a ton about safety already, and this can just validate that you already are doing these things in your classroom or you already know how to approach safety. There are also Flynn scientific safety videos that are accessible from the BPS Science Weebly that are really great and have a ton of really useful information. I highly recommend them. And again, it's video format. It's a little bit easier to put into your schedule, and it's a nice way to receive content. Also, consult your coworkers. If you haven't done a lab before, maybe somebody in your building has, and maybe your school has a science safety coordinator that might have more information about how to make sure you're doing everything you can to be safe. And go directly to the source. Look at that SDS for the chemicals in the lab. That is sometimes the best way to just cut through instead of wasting time on other methods. Just go to the SDS and look for yourself so that you know what's safe about that lab. If you have any questions about this screencast or anything else as it pertains to safety in our labs or classrooms, please feel free to go to the BPS Science Weebly. All those resources that I mentioned are there, including the full SSP, which is the Science Safety Plan. It's a document that talks about all of the roles of the different people in the district to make sure that we're being as safe as we can be in science learning. And you can also email bpsscience@gmail.com, and they can direct you to someone who can answer your question. Thank you so much for your time.